The echo of the king's funeral bell still trembled through the marble halls when Prince Alden tore the royal seal from his father's final will. The parchment's edges burned under the candle's breath, revealing a single line scratched beneath the king's signature. "He who seeks more than I possessed shall awaken what I silenced." Alden's pulse quickened. A lie, he thought. His father had hidden wealth beyond even the crown's record. He felt cheated by the dead. What happens when a lie becomes the only truth you live in? His eyes gleamed with feverish hunger as he whispered, "I'll find it all." Outside, thunder rolled like warning drums, but Alden smiled. He did not yet know that his first act of greed had already stirred something beneath the earth, something waiting. Is wealth worth losing your soul? Or your peace? The storm raged through the night as Alden ordered the vaults unsealed. Servants hurried through drenched courtyards, carrying keys larger than swords. Mira begged him to wait until morning, but his voice, sharp as metal, silenced her. "Gold does not sleep," he said. The air grew colder the deeper they went beneath the castle. The torches sputtered against damp stone, revealing carvings of beasts and eyes that seemed to watch. When the final lock opened, a rush of stale wind blew through. Alden stepped forward into the darkness, feeling the pull of something ancient. A whisper promising that all he desired could be his, if only he dared to take more. When Alden's fingers touched the first chest of gold, something stirred. The coins hummed softly, a metallic heartbeat that matched his own. Mira whispered a prayer, but Alden only smiled. He saw in each coin his father's defeat, his own triumph. Yet the moment he lifted a single piece, it melted briefly, forming a face, his father's, whispering, "Enough." Alden dropped it in shock, but the sound of gold clinking echoed like laughter. He didn't realize the curse had already heard him claim what wasn't his. By dawn, Alden commanded miners to expand every tunnel, ignoring warnings of collapse. "We'll find the rest," he declared, his voice echoing off whetstone. The workers bowed in fear, but their eyes darted toward Mira, who looked at Alden with silent sorrow. She remembered when his hands were kind, not cold with greed. The deeper they dug, the stronger the humming grew, and beneath it, faint whispers began to call Alden by name. That night, Alden dreamt of his father's voice calling from the vault. In the dream, King Edrin stood surrounded by piles of gold that melted into black ash. "You've opened the silence," he said, his eyes hollow. "You've freed it." Alden woke drenched in sweat, his pillow glinting faintly with golden dust. In the corner of the room, the vault key shone with its own light, turning slowly on its own. Somewhere deep below, a voice whispered, "More." Morning came without warmth. The castle shimmered under a strange golden haze that made the air thick and metallic. Prince Alden walked through the treasury halls, his boots echoing against the marble. Every surface reflected him, the mirrors, the gold, even the armor of the guards. "This is the kingdom my father dreamed of," he said aloud, though no one answered. Mira entered behind him, her voice trembling. "Your father dreamed of peace, not of weight." Alden turned sharply, his reflection fracturing in a mirror behind him. "Peace is for those who have enough," he said. Yet deep within him something cold whispered that nothing would ever be enough. The miners returned that day with news. They had found a sealed chamber beneath the deepest tunnel, engraved with the royal crest. Alden's heart pounded. He rode to the site with torches and guards, the echo of hooves blending with thunder. Elder Orin awaited him there, the old monk leaning on his staff, his eyes like dying coals. "Your father sealed that chamber himself," Orin said. "It holds what he swore never to unleash." Alden laughed. "Then it must hold what he feared to lose." The monk's face did not change. He feared to lose his soul. Alden's laughter faltered. but greed had already deafened him. They descended into the chamber, where time seemed frozen. The air smelled of rust and decay. On the walls were carvings. A king kneeling before a shadow made of gold. At the center stood a sealed coffin, its lid engraved with the royal crest and the words, "Greed is the hunger that eats its master." Myra's voice trembled as she read it aloud. Alden touched the coffin's edge, ignoring her plea. "I will not be ruled by old warnings." The seal cracked under his hand, releasing a breath of shimmering dust that filled the air like fireflies. Somewhere in the dark, something began to breathe. When the coffin opened, a wave of light erupted, warm at first, then burning. The torches died from the blinding glow. A voice echoed, layered and hollow. "You wanted more than your father." The golden dust twisted into a shape. A figure cloaked in molten radiance. The cursed spirit born from his greed. Alden stumbled backward as Mira screamed his name. The spirit's voice filled the chamber. "Gold shall be your gift and your grave." Alden's hand brushed the floor, and the stone beneath his touch turned to gold. His scream drowned in the echoing laughter of the curse. The light faded, leaving silence. Alden stood trembling, his hands now sheathed in thin layers of gold. Mira approached, tears streaking her face. "What have you done?" she whispered. Alden stared at his reflection in his gilded palms. "I claimed what was mine, but when he touched her cheek, her skin began to shimmer, veins turning gold beneath her eyes. She screamed and staggered back. Alden fell to his knees, horror consuming him. The curse had chosen its price. Above them, the chamber walls began to crack, golden dust pouring out like blood from a wound in the earth. The castle bells rang for no reason. Servants swore they heard voices in the walls, whispering Alden's name. Gold began seeping from cracks in the floors, flowing like veins of molten metal. Prince Alden wandered through the corridors, his hands wrapped in cloth to hide their shimmer. He saw wealth everywhere, but the beauty was poisoned. The air was heavy, the torches burned low, and the scent of metal choked the lungs. Mira sat in her chamber, her skin still tinged faintly with gold, her eyes hollow. She wrote in trembling script, "Greed changes not what you have, but who you are." Alden stood outside her door, hearing every word yet unable to stop the hunger that gnawed at his heart. At dawn, the miners refused to work. The ground itself had turned brittle and gold-veined. Every strike of the pickaxe rang like a death knell. Elder Orin arrived in the courtyard, demanding an audience. "The earth bleeds for your sin," he said when Alden appeared, his eyes sunken and feverish. "You must return what was taken." Alden laughed bitterly. "How do you return a curse that gives everything?" Orin lifted his staff. "By losing what you love most." For a moment, Alden's arrogance faltered. His gaze flicked toward Mira's window, and fear touched him for the first time. That night, Alden ordered every coin, every jewel, every trace of gold gathered in the great hall. "I will master it," he said. "It will not master me." The hall filled with mountains of treasure, higher than the throne itself. As he stepped among them, the cursed spirit's voice whispered from the shadows, "You are already mine." Alden raised a torch, his face pale with defiance. "Show yourself." The gold shifted, melting into faces, servants, soldiers, even his father, all whispering his name. Mira burst into the hall, shouting, "Stop!" But the floor rippled like liquid fire. The gold swallowed her scream as the spirit rose again. The spirit's laughter echoed like breaking glass. "You wanted more than your father," it hissed. "Now you shall have all that he feared." Gold surged around Alden's legs, hardening to chain. He struggled, shouting, "I am king!" The spirit leaned close, its form flickering with faces, his father's, Mira's, his own. A king of dust and silence. Mira reached for him, tears streaking her golden-tinted face. Alden, stop fighting! Let it go, but he couldn't. Every struggle only pulled him deeper. The gold began to rise to his chest, then his throat, gleaming like armor forged from regret. When dawn came, the great hall was silent. Alden lay still, his body encased in gold up to his heart. Mira knelt beside him, her tears falling like glass beads. "Please," she whispered. His eyes fluttered open. "Human once more." "Mira," he said softly, "I see it now. It was never gold I wanted. It was his love." The spirit's glow dimmed, retreating into the piles of treasure as if saddened by his confession. Elder Orin entered, leaning on his staff. "The curse sleeps only when truth is spoken," he murmured. Alden looked at Mira's trembling hand and smiled faintly before darkness took him. The gold stopped flowing, but his heart, now gold, would never beat again. The morning after the spirit's vanishing, the kingdom awoke to silence. Gold lay still, no longer crawling, but the air felt hollow, as if something unseen still watched. Prince Alden sat on the edge of his throne, his arms hardened to golden armor, unable to bend or feel. Myra stood before him, her eyes red from sleeplessness. "It's not over," she whispered. "Curses don't die. They rest." Alden looked at his reflection in the polished floor. "Then I will rest with it, if that's the price." But outside the window, the castle's golden vines began to tremble again, as though the earth itself refused his surrender. In the stillness, a faint heartbeat pulsed beneath the stone. Messengers from the villages arrived, bringing grim news. Crops had turned to ash, rivers reflected gold instead of water, and no birds sang. The kingdom was dying in silence. Elder Orin entered the hall, supported by guards. "The curse is feeding," he said. "It lives through you, my prince." Alden rose, his golden arms glinting. "Then I'll end it myself." Orin's old eyes softened with pity. "To end it, you must give what greed cannot. Yourself without measure." Mira gasped. "No, he's suffered enough." But Alden's face was calm, almost serene. "If I caused it, I must undo it." Outside, thunder rolled again, echoing like his father's judgment from the grave. That night, Alden walked alone to the cursed vault where it all began. The torches flickered as though they recognized him. The great golden door stood half open, humming faintly. He whispered to the dark father, "If you hear me, I understand now." His voice cracked. "You weren't guarding treasure. You were guarding the kingdom from me." Inside the chamber, the cursed spirit flickered again, smaller now, fragile like dying light. "You cannot unmake desire," it said. Alden stepped closer, eyes steady. "No, but I can silence mine." He touched his chest where the gold had spread and pressed his hand against the vault's cold surface. The walls began to tremble. Mira ran through the corridors as the castle shook violently. She reached the vault and saw Alden kneeling before the glowing door, his entire body now turning to gold. "Stop," she screamed, her voice breaking. "You'll die." He looked back and smiled, not the proud smile she once knew, but a peaceful one. "Maybe that's what it takes." The spirit hovered above, writhing in agony as golden light poured from Alden's chest into the vault, sealing it. "You trade your soul for silence," it hissed. "No," Alden whispered, "for peace." The vault roared shut, the golden light consuming everything. Then, silence. When the light faded, the vault stood sealed again, smooth and silent. Mira knelt before it, her hands trembling against the golden surface. Behind her, Orin entered slowly, his face carved with sorrow. "He did it," he said softly. "The curse sleeps again." Outside, dawn broke, real dawn, with birdsong and wind carrying the scent of rain instead of metal. The gold on Mira's skin began to fade, leaving her human once more. She pressed her forehead to the door. "He gave everything," she whispered. Orin nodded, and in doing so gave us back life. The camera drifts back, showing the vault shimmering like a tomb of light, the final resting place of a prince who wanted more than gold. Days passed in fragile quiet. The kingdom slowly awoke as though from a long nightmare. Gold lost its unnatural glow, rivers ran clear, and laughter returned to the courtyards. But the castle's vault remained sealed, guarded day and night by Mira, who refused to leave its side. Every night she whispered to the golden door, telling Alden stories of the peace he bought with his life. In the great hall, Elder Orin gathered the people and declared, "Let no man chase the wealth of kings, for the earth remembers every act of greed." The people bowed their heads, and for the first time in years, silence was sacred, not cursed. Yet beneath that silence, the faintest heartbeat of gold still pulsed behind the vault's walls, as if the prince's spirit lingered. At night, Mira sat by the vault's door, tracing her fingers over its carvings. "You were never greedy," she whispered. "You were only lonely." Her tears fell on the gold, leaving tiny marks that shimmered before fading. Suddenly, the vault pulsed once with a soft glow. She froze, breath trembling. For a heartbeat, she heard Alden's voice, faint and tender. "The gold is only beautiful when it belongs to the light." She smiled through her tears. "Then rest, my prince. The light is yours now." The vault grew still again, but the faint warmth beneath her palms remained, like the heartbeat of something finally at peace. Seasons passed, the kingdom flourished. Fields turned green again, rivers sang, and the people spoke of the Golden King, the prince who gave his life to save their world. Mira became the keeper of the vault, honored and loved. But her smile always carried sadness. She often walked through the gardens that once turned to gold, now filled with real roses, their fragrance reminding her of him. One evening, a child asked her, "Is the Golden King still alive?" Mira knelt and answered, "Yes. Every time you choose kindness over greed, he lives again." The child smiled, holding a small, dull gold coin, the only relic left untouched by the curse. Years later, Elder Orin stood before the vault one final time. His hair had turned white as snow, his body frail, but his eyes still shone with reverence. He was a prince, but he died a man of truth, he murmured. He placed his staff against the golden door and whispered, "May no one ever hunger beyond their heart again." As he turned to leave, a breeze swept through the chamber, extinguishing the candles. The vault glowed once more, faintly, not as warning, but as gratitude. Orin smiled. "Rest well, Alden." Then he walked away, his shadow fading into the warm light of the corridor, leaving the vault bathed in peace. Years turned to decades, and time wore away the memories of kings. Yet, in the heart of the kingdom, the legend endured. A prince who turned gold into a warning and sacrifice into salvation. Travelers spoke of the vault that hummed with warmth during storms, as if the prince still guarded his people from within. The story passed through generations, teaching children that greed begins as desire but ends as change. And in the quiet hours of the night, when moonlight touched the golden door, a faint whisper could still be heard. "Gold is nothing without heart." And so the curse became a prayer, and the prayer became peace. 100 years passed. The kingdom of Edranor became a land of peace and wisdom, where gold was used only for art, never for power. The story of the Golden King lived in songs, sung by farmers, and whispered by travelers around their fires. Deep beneath the castle, the vault remained unsealed, its glow faint but eternal. On the anniversary of Alden's sacrifice, a group of scholars gathered, led by a young historian named Alara. She was drawn not by greed, but by reverence. "We will not open it," she said softly, touching the golden surface. "We only wish to remember." Yet as her fingers brushed the door, the faint hum returned, the same rhythm as a heartbeat. Somewhere beyond the gold, something stirred, not with anger, but with remembrance. Alara spent days studying the carvings that told the tale of Alden. The symbols spoke of desire, sacrifice, and redemption. "He gave his soul to bind greed," she murmured to her companions. "But souls don't disappear, they wait." One of them, a young man named Terran, frowned. What if his soul is trapped, not resting? The thought chilled her. That night, when everyone else slept, Alara returned to the vault alone, holding a candle. "If you still hear us, Alden," she whispered, "know that your kingdom honors you." The gold warmed beneath her palm. Then a voice, faint and kind, answered, "Peace is not silence. It is choice." The flame flickered but did not die. The next morning, the scholars found Alara asleep beside the vault. Her candle burnt down to wax, and her hand still resting on gold. "But you dream?" Taran asked. He smiled faintly. "I remembered." She led them outside, where dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and amber. "He's not gone," she said. "He became part of the land, the gold in the soil, the light in the river." And indeed, the morning sun shimmered across the water like living gold, soft and pure. He turned his curse into beauty. The scholars bowed their heads. For the first time in centuries, the kingdom spoke his name not with sorrow, but with gratitude. Alara began to write the chronicle of the Golden King, a record not of punishment, but of wisdom. "Let those who read remember," she wrote, "that greed is not born from gold. It is born from fear." Her words spread through villages and cities, teaching that true wealth is measured not in coins, but in peace of heart. On the day she completed the final page, she returned to the vault one last time. "I've finished your story," she said softly. "You'll never be forgotten." The golden surface shimmered once more, then dimmed as though the prince himself bowed in silent thanks. Centuries later, the castle crumbled and the kingdom changed hands many times, but the vault remained untouched. Travelers who wandered its ruins spoke of hearing a soft hum when the wind passed through, the echo of a prince's final promise. In the twilight of one forgotten evening, a beam of sunlight pierced the clouds and struck the vault, making it shine like living fire. A whisper rose with the breeze. "Gold is nothing without heart." The light lingered, then faded into dusk. The curse had become legend. The legend had become hope. And hope, the purest treasure, was all that remained. 1,000 years had passed. The kingdom of Edranor no longer stood, its towers long fallen, its name forgotten by maps. Yet beneath the earth, the golden vault still glowed faintly, buried in silence. Above, a new city thrived, built on the bones of the old. Skyscrapers rose where the castle once stood, their glass walls catching the sunlight like sheets of gold. In a museum nearby, a historian named Dr. Lyora Vale studied ancient fragments of the Golden King legend. Her reflection shimmered in the display glass as she whispered, "A prince who traded his soul for peace," or a warning we never learned from. The light from her tablet flickered, and for a second, the gold inside the vault pulsed again, as if listening. Lyora became obsessed. The more she read, the more she felt drawn to the prince's story. He tried to save them, she told her colleague Jonas, a quiet archaeologist who admired her courage. But his curse isn't dead. It just changed shape. Jonas frowned. You think greed ended with kings? Lyra shook her head. It just wears suits now. That night, alone in the archives, she uncovered a hidden map, marking the vault's location. Deep beneath the museum itself, she hesitated, her heart pounding. History was calling her, but so was temptation. One look, she whispered, for truth, not for gold. Yet somewhere below, the curse stirred once more, mistaking curiosity for desire. That night, Lyra descended alone into the restricted sublevels, flashlight trembling in her hand. Dust floated like spirits in the stale air. She followed the tunnels until she reached a sealed door covered in strange golden symbols. "It's real," she whispered. Her reflection shone faintly in the metal, but it wasn't hers. A young man's face appeared for an instant. Golden hair, green eyes filled with sorrow. "Who are you?" she gasped. The reflection answered in silence, mouthing words she couldn't hear. Behind her, faint whispers filled the tunnel. Voices of kings, monks, and miners, repeating one phrase, "Gold remembers." Lyra stepped closer, heart pounding. The metal beneath her hand felt warm, alive. The whisper grew into a heartbeat. Gold lines spread across the door, lighting the chamber with ancient fire. Lyra stumbled back, shielding her eyes. "I didn't come for gold," she cried. The air trembled, and from within the vault came a voice, deep, calm, familiar. "Then you came for truth." It was Alden. His voice echoed with warmth, not wrath. "Tell them that peace cannot live in hunger's shadow." The glow softened to a gentle light. Lyra dropped to her knees, tears streaking her face. "I will," she whispered. "I'll make them remember." The golden light faded, leaving behind silence, but not emptiness. Only calm. The curse had not awakened. It had been waiting to be heard. When dawn rose above the modern city, the museum's golden relics glowed softly, as if touched by sunlight from below. Lyra stood before the glass case once more, now calm, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and awe. "He's still here," she murmured. Jonas joined her. "The prince?" She nodded. "No. The lesson." She turned to the window, watching the golden towers glint in the sun. "Gold will always tempt us. But peace must be chosen." Outside, the city's light shimmered like an ocean of gold. Beautiful, yet fragile. And beneath it, buried deep where time could not reach, the prince's voice whispered one last truth. "Let no one ever want more than enough."